Hello, my name is Jim, and this is Baby Boomer Tales. You can find us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, we have a Facebook page, Twitter, or X it's called now, YouTube, and more. How are you doing today? I am recovering from having a wisdom tooth pulled. It was about 4 days ago now, and they've told me for years that I need to get rid of that tooth. It's had 2 fillings in it, and it's showing cavities now. The back of it broke off, and it's never given me any trouble. So I've always said, okay, I'll keep that in mind, and kind of sandbagged it in case I have plenty of insurance at the end of the year, and I take care of other types of dental work instead. Well, I've had 2 wisdom teeth out before this, and one of them, it was so bad, I remember trying to eat tacos with my brother-in-law when we had just bought our house in my little hometown, and he was helping us remodel it, and Kim feeding us tacos at lunch, and I just couldn't bite down. It was so excruciating pain. So I made an appointment with the new dentist in town. Now I remember I went in there and he just pulled it out with his fingers. The other one I can't remember, so it must not have been a big deal to pull it out. I can't remember when I got that done. But this one had never bothered me. My 2 bottom wisdom teeth were still intact. But right before we went to Colorado to my granddaughter's graduation, I was starting to think it was feeling kind of funny, like my jaw hurt a little and stuff. Well, over the next month or whatever, it started getting worse and worse. And actually, once in a while when I bite on it, not every time, it would give a sharp pain. And I was getting some headaches and things, and headaches are things I don't have usually. And so I made an appointment, but we had some friends that we had made a kind of a date to have lunch together at a steakhouse, and I could chew on that fine. It was fine. I was fine. But I did notice that the headaches were starting to come more often. Kind of underneath my jaw was kind of hurting. I don't know how to explain it. But so I went in, and there's this new dentist at my dentist office, and he was licensed to do oral type surgery, because in the old days, just a dentist would pull your wisdom teeth, but now you have to go to an oral surgeon, and I was thinking of going to one, and then this new dentist came. So I went in there, and it was quite an ordeal for me. I don't know if I was older because of that. I know they put blood pressure monitor on me, and my blood pressure was sky high. It had me pretty concerned, and it was very painful. And the one thing I thought while he was pulling it was, if you ever wanted to torture somebody, just pull one of their teeth, especially without Novocaine. They had deadened me up pretty good, I mean, it wasn't that. I don't know what it was, but it was awful. And it took me about 2 or 3 days to kind of recover. Last night, I finally ate regular food instead of scrambled eggs, or what was it I was eating? Scrambled eggs and cottage cheese. Those were my foods. I haven't had coffee in 5 days or whatever it is. And I do have a headache, and I think it's from the not having coffee. That, and, I'm getting better. I am. I actually did some stuff yesterday. Today I'm recording a podcast. I need to keep up with these things. So here I am. Hello. I'm all okay now. 1 tooth less. Don't call me toothless. Now for In Front of the TV. Today we're talking about The Closer. It was a TV series between 2005 and 2011, starring Kara Sedgwick and J.K. Simmons. It was about a woman that left the FBI and went to work for Major Crimes Division of Los Angeles Police Department. And she was known for being able to get people to confess to a crime. It was a very, very good show. Ran for 7 seasons. And then Kira decided she wanted to do other things, so she left the show. And this show had a wonderful cast of characters. Well, they continued it and called it Major Crimes. It's a whole new thing. And Mary McDonnell took over Kara Sedgwick's place. Whole different character. She was in The Closer as some kind of special investigator or something. She took over the Major Crimes Division, and it's been excellent. So we're talking about 13 seasons because Major Crimes is 6 seasons long. So that's 13 altogether. I'd highly recommend it. It's one of the smartest cop shows I've ever watched, period. I give it 5 stars, both of them, The Closer and Major Crimes. You might have to dig a little to find them. My television provider does provide it, and I've DVR'd it, and it's a wonderful, wonderful bunch of TV shows. I want to talk about my uncles for a little while here. I had some great uncles in my life, and now I'm an uncle. That's how it works, you know. But I want to start off with one of my great uncles. His name was Charlie, and he ended up in my little hometown because him and his business partner, Francis, had bought a little variety store up in that little town up in north central Colorado Rocky Mountains, the town where I was born and raised, spent half my life in. His name was Charlie, and he was too ill to make it to my little hometown to open that store up. So my dad went in his place. They all lived in Nebraska, kind of close to each other. And my dad went there and never really ever left. Spent the rest of his life basically there. Now, after he retired, he lived in Coronado Island for a while in California, and also in western Colorado for a while, but not more than a couple years at each place. He basically spent his entire rest of his life up in that little mountain town up in Colorado. But Charlie and Francis opened that variety store and soon turned it into a western wear store and called it the Trading Post. And it was a good store. It was there for years. And I worked there for a while. Best job I ever had in my life, right there, and learned all about business there. Not at my dad's grocery store I didn't learn about business. I learned about work there. But at the Trading Post I learned about business. And I'll always be grateful to Jay and Francis and their families. When Charlie did retire, he sold the rest of his stock to Jay's family. Anyway, Charlie was my grandpa's brother, and he's the only one of that bunch that I knew. They had a brother named Homer, and that's where I get my character Homer from this brother, who was actually wounded in World War I believe it was, with mustard gas. And it shortened his lifespan. He didn't get killed from it at the time, but he died young and died unhealthy. He was never very healthy after that mustard gas experience. But Charlie was a great, great man. He always wore these fancy cowboy clothes, and they provided the whole county with boots and jeans and hats and family clothing and Pendleton blankets and all that stuff for years and years and years. My dad worked there for a while until Charlie got better and then moved to Colorado himself. And then my dad eventually bought his grocery store. My dad's only brother, Victor, was a wild child, that's for sure. But he did own a gamble store up in my little hometown for a while. He seemed to own gamble stores everywhere he went. Victor was a high roller, funny guy, a nephew's favorite, that's for sure. He'd come to town and in his Cadillac and all that stuff, show us $100 bill and really impress us kids. Drove my dad a little crazy, but that's okay. That was his only brother. My grandparents only had the 2 kids. Last time I saw Victor, he had come for my dad's funeral, and then we took him back to the airport in Denver and got him on a plane, and that's the very last time I ever saw that man. On my mother's side, 2 brothers from Texas married 2 of my mom's sisters. Jim and Sam were my uncles, and they settled down in that little hometown of mine. And they first started with dry cleaners. Eventually, Jim moved to Utah, and Sam opened a gamble store. The same one my Uncle Victor had owned years before, but there was an owner in between them. Sam was very, very successful at that gamble store, worked really hard, had a loyal following of the community. Jim did eventually move back and opened a dry cleaners right there in my little hometown. Jim was married to my Aunt Donna, and Sam was married to my Aunt Betty. I've got 4 great cousins from that bunch. They each had 2 children. Gary and Marcia were Sam and Betty's kids. Debbie and Mike were Jim and Donna's. I don't get to see those folks too much anymore. I am in touch once in a while with Gary. He started a podcast for a while. He's a great high school basketball coach. I think he made the Colorado High School Coaches Hall of Fame, I do believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gary. Then I had my Uncle Cliff. Uncle Cliff was my mother's brother, and he owned the barber shop in town. Married to my Aunt Jerry. They had 3 kids, Rod, Martha, and Cindy. I talk about Uncle Cliff every once in a while. We had quite a journey together once the Beatles hit the scene and people started growing their hair long. Uncle Cliff passed away early in life. Left Aunt Jerry to raise those kids. They did own the house next to my grandparents, and I think that did help. I got to see Cliff right before he passed away. I went and talked with him, and all that stuff about the hair and stuff was just water under the bridge. He was a very nice man and a great barber. He really was. My Uncle Dick was really the youngest in the family until my Aunt Connie came 12 years later. And Connie, I've spoken about her periodically on this podcast. We were basically the same age, went through school in the same class from kindergarten until we graduated from high school. Dick was kind of the wild child of that family. He really was. But he settled down. I think he had a good life. I really do. Went to his funeral in Arkansas. He was one of those good-looking men. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? And when they say I favor my mother's side of the family, I like to think that maybe I look a little bit like Uncle Dick. He had 2 children, Teresa and Vern. Vern was a bull rider. Now he's a fireman, if he's not retired by now. And I talk about my Aunt Connie. She never felt like my aunt. She always felt like, maybe my sister. So her husband, Richard, the youngest of all my uncles, is probably about my age, right in there. And I know he's my uncle, but he feels like my brother-in-law. So many ways. I've been blessed with family. My 2 sets of grandparents were just wonderful. I'm glad I got to share this with you about my uncles. I hope that someday one of my nieces or nephews will remember me fondly. Always be kind. The rewards are priceless. I'll be back next Wednesday. That is my plan. Thank you for riding along today. Peace out.
Okay, tough guy. I told you I'd beat you up. Now, cry, Uncle.
Charlie!
What are you, funny guy? Cry, Uncle.
Victor!
Okay, this is your last chance. I'm telling you, cry, Uncle.
Jim and Sam and Cliff and Dick and Richard.
I give up.
Happy 4th of July.